He blocked my driveway and claimed laws don't apply, then the city gave him the live stream he asked for. The wall of beige fiberglass was the first thing I saw when I opened my front door, and it was close enough to touch. It wasn't a car. It wasn't a delivery van. It was a massive, 1990s-era Winnebago, faded by the sun and streaked with years of road grime, parked perpendicular across the bottom of my driveway. It looked like a beached whale made of aluminum and bad decisions. I stood on my porch, coffee mug suspended halfway to my mouth, blinking against the morning sun. It was Saturday, February 7th. I had plans. I had errands. I had a life. And now, I had a 40-foot barricade separating my Honda Civic from the public road. I walked down the driveway, the gravel crunching under my slippers. The RV was parked so lazily, so aggressively, that its rear bumper was actually hovering over my mailbox, while the front grille was blocking the neighbor's trash cans. It wasn't just blocking me, it was occupying the entire cul-de-sac like a conquering army. I knew who it belonged to. Barry. Barry moved into the rental house across the street 2 months ago. Barry is a guy who wears wraparound sunglasses on the back of his head and talks loudly into his phone about crypto fluctuations, while mowing his lawn at 7 a.m. But I didn't know Barry was insane. Not until today. I walked around the front of the RV. The curtains were drawn. A generator was humming loudly on the back rack, spewing exhaust fumes directly toward my bedroom window. I banged on the side of the RV, thump. 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 Hey! I shouted. You're blocking me in. Move this thing. The door of the RV creaked open. A set of metal steps unfolded with a rusty screech. Barry stepped out. He wasn't wearing shoes. He was wearing cargo shorts and a t-shirt that said Liberty or Death with a picture of a rattlesnake. He held a stack of papers in one hand and a video camera in the other. He was already recording. "Good morning, citizen," Barry said. His voice was calm, detached, like he was speaking to a child or a particularly slow dog. "I noticed you striking my conveyance. I do not consent to searches or seizures." "I'm not seizing anything, Barry," I said, pointing at my car trapped behind his monstrosity. "I'm trying to leave my house. You are blocking my driveway. You need to move this thing immediately." Barry smiled. It was a terrifying smile. It was the smile of a man who has watched 4,000 hours of YouTube conspiracy videos and thinks he has unlocked the cheat codes to reality. "I am not blocking," he corrected me, stepping down onto the asphalt. "I am traveling. My vessel is currently at rest upon the common way. As a free inhabitant of the land, I have the right to travel unencumbered by commercial statutes." "Vessel?" I stared at him. "It's a Winnebago, Barry. And it's parked illegally. We have assigned parking covenants in this neighborhood, and even if we didn't, you can't block a private driveway. It's against the law." Barry laughed. He held up the stack of papers. "The law?" he scoffed. "You refer to Admiralty Maritime Law. I am not a corporation. I am a living soul. I do not create joinder with your corporate fiction. The statutes you refer to apply only to drivers engaged in commerce. I am not driving. I am traveling. Therefore, the vehicle code does not apply to me." I felt the heat rising in my neck, a prickly, suffocating sensation that started at my collarbone and crawled up behind my ears. I was arguing with a wall. A wall that believed the Constitution was a menu where you could order the rights and skip the responsibilities. "Barry," I said, stepping closer. "I don't care about your soul. I care about my car. Move the RV, or I'm calling the police." "Call the policy enforcers," Barry shrugged, holding his camera steady on my face. "They have no jurisdiction over a sovereign national. I have my fee schedule right here. If they attempt to detain me, I will bill them $1,000 a minute in silver bullion." "Silver bullion," I repeated. Gold is also acceptable, he nodded gravely. I pulled out my phone. I dialed 911. Emergency, police. I need an officer at 404, Oak Lane, I said, my eyes locked on Barry. My neighbor has blocked my driveway with an RV and is refusing to move. He claims he is a sovereign citizen and laws don't apply to him. The dispatcher sighed. It was a long, heavy sigh. One of those. Okay. Keep your distance. We'll send a unit. I hung up. They're coming, I told Barry. Let them come, Barry said, puffing out his chest. I have my affidavit of truth ready. I will educate them. He sat down on the steps of his RV, right in the middle of the street, and started reading his papers. I waited. 10 minutes passed. The generator hummed. The smell of exhaust was giving me a headache. Finally, a cruiser rolled up. Officer Miller. I knew him from the time my other neighbor's kid set off fireworks in a trash can. Miller was a good cop. He looked tired. Miller got out of the car. He looked at the RV. He looked at my driveway. He looked at Barry sitting on the steps. Sir, Miller said, walking up to Barry. You can't park here. You're blocking a resident's egress. Barry stood up. He shoved the camera in Miller's face. I do not consent to this interaction. Barry shouted. Am I being detained? State your name and badge number. I demand to see your oath of office. Miller blinked. He adjusted his belt. Sir, my name is Officer Miller. Badge 492. I am asking you to move your vehicle. It is a code violation to obstruct a driveway. It is not a vehicle. Barry screamed. It is a private conveyance. I am not engaged in commerce. Your statutes do not apply to me. I am a free man upon the land. Miller rubbed his temples. Sir, do you have a driver's license? I don't need a license to travel. Barry reached into his pocket and pulled out a laminated card. It looked like something he made at Kinko's. It had a picture of an eagle and a lot of red ink. This is my right to travel document. It supersedes your state laws. Miller looked at the card. He didn't take it. Sir, Miller said, his patience thinning. I am not going to debate the Articles of Confederation with you on a Saturday morning. If you do not move this RV, I will have it towed. If you touch my property, Barry hissed, leaning in, that is an act of war. That is piracy. I will put a lien on your house. I will sue you in common law court for $10 million. Miller looked at me. He looked defeated. Look, Miller whispered to me, pulling me aside. Here's the thing. I can ticket him. I can call a city tow. But city tow is backed up for 6 hours. And if I arrest him now for obstruction, he's going to turn this into a circus. He'll scream, he'll fight, and I'll be doing paperwork for 6 months dealing with his bogus liens. So I'm stuck. I asked, incredulous. No, Miller grinned. You're not stuck. You're just using the wrong law. This isn't just a traffic violation. It's a private property dispute. Your driveway apron. That's your land. He's encroaching. And Miller winked. You don't need the city tow. You can call a private impound. And I happen to know a guy who loves dealing with these types. He has a truck that can move a tank. I looked at Barry, who was currently reading a notice of intent to sue to Miller's dashboard camera. Give me the number, I said. I dialed the number Miller gave me. Ironhide Recovery and Towing. Ironhide, a voice answered. It sounded like gravel being crushed in a blender. Yeah, I need a private property removal, I said. I have a 40-foot Winnebago blocking my driveway. The owner is refusing to move. Police are on scene, but they said I should call you. Is he one of those sovereign nut jobs? The voice asked immediately. Yes. He's currently reading the Constitution to a tire. I love those guys, the voice chuckled. It was a dark, predatory sound. I'm 10 minutes out. My name is Tank. Have your property deed ready just in case he tries to pull a fast one. I have it, I said. 10 minutes. I walked back to Miller. He's coming. Good, Miller said. He walked back to his cruiser and leaned against the hood, crossing his arms. He wasn't leaving. He was staying for the show. And, more importantly, to ensure the peace was kept when reality collided with Barry's delusion. Barry saw me off the phone. He smirked. Giving up, he sneered. Smart. You realized you have no authority over me. I accept your surrender. I didn't surrender, Barry, I said, leaning against my mailbox. I just called in a specialist. A specialist? Barry scoffed. Unless it's a Supreme Court justice, I do not recognize their authority. 10 minutes later, the ground shook. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a truck. A massive, matte black tow truck turned the corner. It wasn't a standard flatbed. It was a rotator, the kind of heavy wrecker they use to pull semi-trucks out of ditches. It had dual smokestacks, a ram bar on the front that looked like it could breach a fortress, and a boom arm that extended 20 feet into the air. It hissed to a halt right behind the RV. The air brakes engaged with a sound like a dragon sighing. The door opened. Tank jumped out. He lived up to the name. He was 6'5", easily 300 pounds of muscle and tattoos. He wore a grease-stained jumpsuit and a hat that said Repo Reaper. He carried a heavy chain over his shoulder like a purse. Barry looked at the truck. He looked at Tank. He looked slightly less confident. Who are you? Barry demanded, stepping forward with his camera. I did not summon you. You have no contract with me. Tank ignored him completely. He walked past Barry like he was a traffic cone. He walked up to me. You the homeowner? Tank asked. That's me, I said. That your driveway? He pointed to the asphalt under the RV's belly. Yes. He blocking it? Completely. You authorize the removal? I do. Sign here. Tank handed me a clipboard. I signed. Hey! Barry shouted, running up to Tank. He shoved the camera lens into Tank's bicep. I do not consent. This is a private conveyance. You cannot touch it. I will charge you with grand theft. I will have your license revoked. Tank stopped. He looked down at Barry. He looked at the camera. He smiled. Buddy, Tank said, his voice rumbling. I ain't the government. I'm private enterprise. And you are parked on private property. The only law I care about is the one that says I get paid $300 to drag this heap to the impound lot. I am a free inhabitant. Barry shrieked. I am not in commerce. You're about to be in traffic, Tank said. Tank turned around. He walked to the back of the RV. He grabbed the rear axle with the massive steel hook. Barry panicked. He realized the words weren't working. The magic spell was failing. Stop! Barry yelled. My house is in there. My stuff is in there. Shouldn't have parked it here, Tank said, tightening the chain. Tank walked back to the truck. He climbed into the cab. He engaged the PTO, power takeoff. The engine revved. The hydraulic boom began to lower. Barry ran to the front of the tow truck. He stood directly in front of the massive grill guard. I am standing my ground. Barry screamed. If you move this truck, you are committing vehicular assault. I do not yield. Officer Miller pushed off his cruiser. Okay, that's enough. Miller walked over. "Sir, step away from the truck. You are interfering with a lawful tow." "It is not lawful." Barry spit, veins bulging in his neck. "He is stealing my property. It is kidnapping. He is kidnapping my home. He is removing a nuisance," Miller said. "Step aside." "No." Barry planted his feet. "I will die for my rights." Tank honked the horn. It was a train horn. It was deafening. Honk. Barry flinched, but he didn't move. "Last chance," Miller warned. Barry looked at the truck. He looked at me. He looked at his camera. He needed to be the victim. He needed the content. He did the unthinkable. He lunged. He didn't lunge at the truck. He lunged at Tank, who had opened his door to check the clearance. Barry grabbed Tank's leg. He tried to pull him out of the cab. "Citizen's arrest." Barry shrieked. "I am placing you under citizen's arrest for piracy." That was the mistake. Tank didn't even kick him. He just shook his leg, and Barry flew backward like a ragdoll, landing in the snow. Officer Miller was on him in a second. "That's it." Miller yelled. "You're done." Miller grabbed Barry's arm. Barry swung the camera, hitting Miller in the shoulder. "Assault on an officer." Miller roared. He spun Barry around and slammed him against the hood of the cruiser. Click. Click. The handcuffs went on. "I do not consent." Barry screamed, his face pressed against the cold metal. "This is kidnapping. I am a diplomat. I have immunity." "You have the right to remain silent," Miller said, panting slightly. "And I really suggest you use it." Barry kept screaming. He listed statutes. He listed codes. He threatened to fire the police chief. Miller shoved him into the back seat of the cruiser. "Tank," Miller called out. "Get that thing out of here." "On it," Tank grinned. Tank engaged the winch. The cable went taut. The RV groaned. The tires skidded on the asphalt. The RV was dragged backward. Tank lifted the rear end into the air. The front bumper of the RV scraped against the ground, sparks flying. Barry watched from the window of the police car, his face a mask of absolute horror. He watched his vessel, his conveyance, his home, being hooked up like a dead fish. "Where are you taking it?" I asked Tank as he secured the safety chains. "Impound lot on the other side of the county," Tank said. "Daily storage fee is $75. Tow fee is $300. And since it's an oversized vehicle, there's a pain-in-the-ass surcharge of another $200. "He won't pay," I said. "He doesn't believe in currency." "Then we sell it," Tank shrugged. "Auction. In 30 days. I've always wanted a camper." Tank climbed back in. He gave me a thumbs up. He drove off. The massive RV swayed behind the tow truck, looking sad and defeated. Officer Miller walked over to me. "Sorry about the drama," Miller said. "But hey, driveway is clear." "Thanks, Miller," I said. "Is he going to jail?" "Oh yeah," Miller nodded. "Obstruction of justice. Assault on a police officer. Disorderly conduct. And since he doesn't have a valid ID, just that fake card, we have to hold him until we can fingerprint him and verify his identity. He'll be in there for the weekend at least." "What about the maritime law?" I asked, suppressing a smile. "He can tell it to the judge," Miller laughed. "I'm sure the judge will be fascinated to hear that he's a boat." Miller got in his car and drove away, Barry still screaming in the back seat. I stood alone in the cul-de-sac. It was quiet. The generator noise was gone. The exhaust smell was fading. My driveway was empty. I walked to my car. I got in. I started it up. I backed out of my driveway. I drove to the store. I bought milk. I bought bread. I came home. I parked in my driveway. It was the most satisfying parking job of my life. I checked Reddit later that night. Someone had uploaded a video from a doorbell camera down the street. It showed the whole thing. The title was, "Sovereign Citizen Tries to Arrest Tow Truck Driver, Gets Towed to Jail." It had 50,000 upvotes. Barry didn't come back for a week. When he finally showed up, he was walking. No RV. No swagger. He walked past my house. He looked at me sitting on the porch. He didn't say a word about Admiralty law. He didn't say a word about joinder. He just kept walking. I heard later that he couldn't pay the impound fees because his silver bullion wasn't accepted at the tow yard. Tank sold the RV at auction. Barry moved out a month later. I saw him loading boxes into a U-Haul. A U-Haul that he had to rent with a valid driver's license and a credit card. I guess he decided to join the system after all. So, tell me. Am I the monster for towing a man's home and getting him arrested because he blocked my driveway, or did he just learn that the laws of physics apply to everyone, even sovereign citizens?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.